such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies. I was recording the albums myself in my own studio. So the way I looked at it, I owned the work because I paid for it. And I did all the work. I created it, so I felt like it should belong to me. That said, the companies felt otherwise, and they would always hold this contract up and say, well, you signed it. And I say, well, I understand that. It's not like I want to leave. I just want to, you know, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist. And that's kind of the situation we're in right today. They're not going to exist much longer. But it's not like we're against them or anything like that. The idea is that we find better ways of working with one another. It shouldn't be a situation where they own the album or the work. We're talking about intellectual copyright. If they're going to be indeed a delivery service, then that's fine. But even FedEx doesn't say that they own the thing.
Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the
Prince's recording. Played in trial, the moment Prince's voice filled the courtroom, everything shifted. Diddy's face changed. His carefully controlled demeanor.
It's your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well. The majority will not. So as a people, will be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves. There's nothing minor about you. You are a blessed people. You're the most talented on earth, and you are still grateful. That is why upon winning in their game, you always thank God. Tonight I would like to ask one favor of you. Imagine what we'll all be like in our own game. Peace and love for one another.
Cracked as the legendary artist's haunting voice echoed through the room, a ghostly testimony from beyond the grave. What was in that recording that made one of the music industry's most powerful figures lose his composure?
Their hand, they're coming in, they're very alert, and I think this is one of those testimonies where you have no choice but to pay attention and almost be flabbergasted, obviously, at some of what you're hearing, because it's not only just insight into somebody's sex life, but the details are disturbing at times, especially during that prosecution testimony when we saw some of the alleged abuse, or we saw pictures of her after a beating of some kind, according to her. But the jurors are definitely paying attention. I don't see anyone that's not keeping their focus on Cassie Ventura, and also I noticed them taking notes a lot of times.
And the children, as they were exiting court yesterday, 2 of the girls were seen crying. How emotional have they been in court? Again,
I cannot imagine if that was my father or somebody close to me up there and having to hear details of their sex life. Those are young women. They lost their mother, one of them, the twins. So no one can probably quite understand what it is that they're going through, but I think that's something that you think about on both sides, you know, to look at Alex Fine, which is Cassie Ventura's husband, and think about him having to listen to all that's being said about the type of woman that Cassie Ventura was versus the person that's expecting, you know, their third child together now. So whether it's Combs's family or Ventura's family that's there to support her, her brother and her husband, Alex Fine, I think it's difficult on both sides. I've seen him taking notes from the beginning. I see him put his glasses on. He gets very close to the screen when they're reading some of those text messages. So he's paying attention.
Now, Ventura confirmed that she and Combs had conversations about a swingers lifestyle, but that the freak-offs, they were very different.
Yeah, so she talked about this idea where I guess Combs wanted her to watch him have sex with another woman. She said that happened 2 or 3 times, but that he mentioned it frequently.
Kim Porter came up today in testimony. What was the significance there?
The defense said early on that this case would be about infidelity, love, and jealousy. And this is where they brought that up today when they brought up Kim Porter's name. The defense asked Cassie Ventura, are you jealous or were you jealous of Kim Porter? And Ventura sort of contemplated, but did get to this moment where she said, knowing that Combs spent holidays with his family, which meant with Porter, did bother her. And she admitted that. They also pointed out that there was testimony where she talked about being insanely jealous overall as a girlfriend. So, yeah.
We're hearing the judge wants Cassie off the stand tomorrow. Will the prosecution and the defense get equal time?
Yeah, as long as there aren't any additional motions, I think that is the goal, to have her off the stand by tomorrow.
Why do you think that? What's the reasoning behind wanting her off the stand tomorrow?
In the very beginning, Rachel, they told us that she would likely be.
Day 3 of this explosive trial revealed evidence no one expected, and the implications. They're sending shockwaves through Hollywood. Cassie testified he would get physical. That one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed Diddy get physical. Don added,
Kind of spooked me about it all.
What?
Was he has a song called Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah.
And it says, don't let the elevator bring us down. One time when I was with him privately, he said, you know what the elevator is, right?
No.
I said, no, what's the elevator? He said, well, the elevator is the devil, right? It scared me. I don't like to talk like that, but he said that. And so for me, it was like really haunting when I read that he was found in an elevator.
So again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't exactly what he's on trial for, but boy, it's stacking up. And I feel the jury is going to take that into consideration. The first Diddy party I ever went to was at Prince's house. Imagine that, a Diddy party where Tyrese performed and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher swung on swings in the backyard. That's the kind of scene happening just on the other side of the wall. What made this party different from any...
Nobody, this ain't independent. Yeezy's the only 100% owned, independent, black owned or whatever. I don't know if it'll be owned after this interview, but you get what I'm saying? Like when we sign something, we don't sign somebody. We're signing someone to the bigger Vivendi slave ship, to the bigger universal slave ship. Because y'all saying, all his tweets was crazy. You know why Prince gave me the song Jail? Because he liked what I did. And he's like, I like what you did with them contracts.
You said Prince gave it to you. Right.
Man, he definitely, guess who's going to jail tonight? You know what I'm saying? A Gemini spirit.
People who don't, because he was on that tip.
Yeah.
Just people who don't know, you're talking about Prince.
Yeah, I'm talking
out Prince.
And Prince trying to get away from corporations, disconnect.
Prince with the slave on his cheek.
Yeah, slave on his cheek, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Michael Jackson, bro.
Other celebrity gathering, whether a Jamie Foxx party or any star-studded event packed with young women and men, was one thing. Diddy didn't allow you to bring your own security. Day 3 started like the 2 before it. Journalists scrambled for the best seats, celebrities slipped in through side doors, and lawyers arranged their papers with practiced precision. But something was different this morning. The courtroom wasn't just full, it was electric. Security guards stood at every corner, doubling the usual presence. 4 officers took position directly behind Diddy's table, a precaution never taken before. A court insider later revealed they'd received special instructions.
Funny, and then you move on and you like something that he did on TikTok because he's funny. But for people that worked for 6 years of their life and entered an industry where somebody made, what, $48 million?
Nearly $50 million?
And we didn't even see a penny of that, and we were in thongs and 5-inch heels for years of our lives on stage. And not any of it did we see. And the measly amount of change that MTV paid us, we don't even get to feel any benefit of that because they never brought the show back and they don't play it in reruns. So we can't even get the hype of, oh, hey, I remember this. They're cult classics. Let me hire her for something. Like all of them got, right? Jersey Shore kids are making millions of dollars.
That morning, though no one explained why. Diddy entered looking unfazed, dressed in a perfectly tailored navy suit. He nodded at supporters in the gallery and flashed his famous smile. His legal team surrounded him like a protective shield, whispering strategy. He looked like a man who believed he had everything under control. What he didn't notice was the unusual activity at the prosecution's table. 2 tech specialists quietly set up equipment that had never been seen during the first 2 days. They tested connections, whispering urgently to the lead prosecutor, who kept glancing at Diddy with unmistakable anticipation. Something was coming, and only the prosecution knew what. Rumors spread like wildfire. A courtroom reporter later told me people were texting across the room, wondering what bomb the prosecution was about to drop. We all felt it coming. The judge entered and, after the usual formalities, made an unusual statement. I want to remind everyone present that regardless of the evidence presented today, I expect complete composure in this courtroom. His gaze lingered on the gallery. Then he added, any disruptions will result in immediate removal. The prosecution's opening statements followed their usual methodical rhythm, reviewing past testimony and connecting dots between witnesses and evidence. It almost seemed routine until the lead prosecutor suddenly stopped mid-sentence. Your Honor, at this time the prosecution would like to present critical audio evidence, recently authenticated by our forensic team. She approached the bench, holding a small black device. The defense immediately objected, claiming they had not been properly notified of this evidence. A heated sidebar followed, with Diddy's attorneys gesturing emphatically. But the momentum had shifted. The courtroom held its breath as the recording was about to play. A voice from beyond, now central to the battle unfolding. The heated sidebar went on for what felt like an eternity. Whispers of protest echoed between attorneys, but the judge remained firm. This evidence is admitted, she declared, slamming her gavel for emphasis. Proceed. A hush fell over the courtroom as the tech specialists began playing the audio. The room was instantly consumed by the unmistakable voice of Prince, smooth, unmistakable, filled with raw emotion and subtle anger. Every eye locked onto Diddy. His expression, once composed and confident, began to falter. A flicker of doubt, a shadow of fear.
He said he would get physical. That one male guy who did things with Diddy and Cassie said he witnessed him get physical. Don, so again, we talked about how the domestic charges aren't, what he's being, what he's on trial for. But boy, it's stacking up. And I feel that the jury is going to take that into consideration.
The first Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And so the one thing that makes this party different than a Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in.
The voice from the recording wasn't just a soundtrack. It was a direct challenge, an indictment whispered through time. Prince spoke of betrayals, of promises broken, of shadows lurking behind the glitz and glamour of the party scene. He spoke of pain, of secrets, and a darkness that had settled over those closest to him. With every word, Diddy's defenses crumbled. The jury leaned in, the gallery held its breath, and the courtroom's energy shifted from anticipation to shock. When the recording ended, silence ruled the room for several heartbeats. Then, murmurs broke out, questions, disbelief, and the weight of a new reality sinking in. The lead prosecutor stood, voice steady but fierce. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what you have just heard is not just a voice from the past. It is a truth that cannot be ignored. This evidence connects the dots between the testimonies you've heard and the events that unfolded behind closed doors. Diddy's attorneys scrambled to regain control, questioning the recording's authenticity and relevance. But the damage was done. The legendary Prince's voice had pierced the armor of one of music's giants, and nothing would ever be the same. As the trial moved forward, everyone knew they had witnessed a pivotal moment, a moment where history, fame, and justice collided in the most unexpected way.